Welcome to SFH Presents One More Podcast.
Welcome to SFH Presents One More Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Polk. Ty's out of town, so it's just me and Tom here. It's Tom Cruz, actually. We're really stepping up in the world. When that first hit the book, we were all laughing about that. We're like, oh, guests are getting bigger and bigger around here. But not a medical professional, so if you really need help, reach out to somebody. Other than that, let's get to the big question. What does still fucking here mean to you, Tom?
Well, for me, it means being able to overcome past traumas and past issues that you may or may not know, and being able to thrive through that, and then be resilient. And then how can you help others follow the same path, so maybe their struggles don't have to be as hard as yours used to be.
I love that. I think that's I've mentioned it before, but I think that's a big motivating factor for this podcast. When I started this, I still deal with pretty dark depression, and in my darkest moments, I was like, I had a platform because I was playing music all over the country, and I was like, hey, I want to use my platform to at least hopefully make someone feel less alone than I feel right now, and I like that as a motivating thing. Like we all, I mean, everyone's been through trauma, every single human being, varying trauma, and it's no competition as to who's worse, but how we deal with it's all different. Some people eat a peanut and that kills them. It's like, I think getting through, and you mentioned something too along the lines of like not knowing about your past trauma. That's a lot of people. Oh yeah.
And I kind of relate it to, our parents, and like me, us as parents now, we always want better for our children, right? We don't want our children to have to struggle like we had to struggle, and all that, goes back years and years. Our parents did it, grandparents, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of the same way in mental health, right? Like most of us that have been through the trauma, been through the dark side, or still in the dark side, we don't want to see other people get there, right? So right. A lot of us need to become more comfortable, and I think we are getting to that point, to be more comfortable to share our stories, share our experiences, so that others can stop their struggle before it becomes as dark as some of us has gotten. So we should be able to go out there and teach and be like, hey, it's not that bad, or this is how you get through it, or hey, I'm here for you. No different than how we treat our kids, each generation that's gone on.
Yeah. It's especially with men, and it's with women too, don't get me wrong, but especially with men, being able to be vulnerable and talk about what's going on with you, what's going on in your head is really difficult for a lot of men. I'm not military, but we talk to a lot of military, a lot of my family's military, particularly bad with military men.
I would also put in there children. Our children are not given as much credit or as much of a voice as they need to be had, especially nowadays with social media and everything that's going on in this world. Their voice needs to be heard just as much as ours. So I would put them up there too, which is something that I have really taken hold of in my household as part of that. And it's weird going out anywhere what we do, and we'll get into what I do and all that, but every time I take or we take our 12-year-old son to do any of these talks that we do, podcasts, everyone looks at him like, why is he here? He doesn't have, until he starts talking, and then he starts telling about, the struggles that I have, what he does for it, things that he's trained in, and they're all like, but he's only 12. I'm like, yeah, and he's a lot smarter than almost everybody in this room, because our kids these days are just geniuses.
Yeah. I agree with that. It's hard to find a balance, especially in today's society, where you have the fad of people going on social media and what's the word here? Giving themselves, self-diagnosing them with several different afflictions, where it's like everyone on TikTok, I've got ADD, I've got whatever, mm-hmm. Where it's become like a trend. It's difficult to separate that from actual emotional intelligence and teaching somebody how to cope with these things and what is actually something that you're going through or dealing with. And the most important part is not just playing a victim, which I feel like is so fucking common right now.
Oh, it's out of control. Like, it's amazing how everyone's got everything in the world nowadays. And then, like I tell people, and I don't tell anybody that, like, all mine's documented. Like, I literally am documented the stuff that I have. So it's not like I've made it up or WebMD'd myself, but I don't run around with a sign on my chest going, hey, treat me gentle. It's like, I still got to learn how to get through daily life and how to get through the real world and make it with or without, assistance. It's like, and I think that's just part of this new generation of world that's got to figure it out. And I kind of blame our generation, because I think we try to, I don't want to say coddle, but we definitely do try to protect a lot more. And I think we've overprotected to the point that, everybody gets a participation award. You can't be a loser. I mean, look at YouTube. YouTube took away the thumbs down, because they don't want people to, feel bad that their video sucks. Not everybody can not everyone can have a winning video.
Right. And isn't that, I was just having a conversation with my daughter the other day. Isn't that failure should be the motivation for you to do better, for you to learn more, to make a better channel, to make better videos, I mean, the fact that anytime something comes in negative, a lot of people, especially on one particular side of the political spectrum, think that whatever is negative to them is everyone else's problem. They don't process it at all as a motivating factor for them to improve or grow, which is ultimately, like, if you can look at what's important in life, I feel like learning and growing is a forever process. Okay. And I'm still at almost 50 years old, learning and growing, and I don't think that'll ever stop.
And that's what I always say is I would rather have, and our son is in Taekwondo and is a national champion in that, but I almost value the losses more than the wins, because the losses show you where your weaknesses are, how you need to build them. If everybody wins every time and is told they're the best and number one at everything, then that's saying you have nowhere to improve. And like you, I'll be 50 next year, and I'm considered an expert in the mental health field. I'm considered blah, 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 blah. But guess who's one of the first ones to sign up for a lesson, a webinar, a podcast, or I'm watching podcasts or something like that. Just because I'm told I'm an expert, I don't feel I'm an expert. I feel I'm good at what I do, but I'm always not. There's something always new coming out. There's always somebody with better knowledge or some new tool or some new thing that I'm not aware of. So if I would just say, nope, you're right, I'm the expert in this, and I'm going to tell you how it is, I'm losing out on so much more that's happening out there that could be, life-saving for somebody, or just for me.
Right. Well, I think from doing this podcast, I think you'll relate to this. It's not that I'll hop on a podcast with somebody and it completely changes my worldview in 1 minute, just one phrase or even the hour or whatever. But like over the course of now getting it close to 60 episodes, over the course of 60 episodes, I've taken little tidbits. And it's like those little pieces of wisdom that you kind of put together in this, your big rubber band ball that constantly grows. Mm-hmm. I think that's super important. I don't come in here looking to completely be changed, but I have over the last year and a half changed significantly in the way that I look at some things by little bits and pieces of wisdom.
And I think, and that kind of is a good segue into like my story. Because the way I used to view mental health and all this, so little quick history of me, so I grew up in a family that was your typical families in the 70s and 80s. I had a mom, a dad went to work, mom stayed home, perfect. I had 2 younger brothers, perfect. I always joke with my brothers that I was on purpose. My mom and dad dropped out of high school to have me, and they had me on purpose so they could get married. And so they never finished high school. And so I went to school and I went all the way through. They made me go to school. I had a good grade. So then since I was the only one that completed high school, I had to now educate my brothers and, kind of help them through it. And then we had a divorce, and I ran off to the military, and I joined the Army in 95, became an NCO in 98. So I've been in charge almost my whole life. Right. And being able to, handle things on my own in maybe good ways or some not good ways, I still was the leader. Everyone always came to me for stuff. So for me, mental health was just suck it up. We all got problems, get through it, figure a way out of it, go do what you got to do. Don't get help, especially a lot of my career was done with the soft side, special forces side. And so on that side, me being a counterintelligence and an interrogator, I was an integral part of the team where it's a 12-man team. If I go out for a month, 2 months, 3 months, it's a detriment. I find out now that, since my event happened, my incident, I had to change that whole mentality. And because I see the chaos that me and others have, because we didn't get the help before, because we did have that mentality of, well, I got this, no one can help me fix it mentality, it definitely did hurt us. It's hurting us to this day, where if we would have stood out and kind of took that breather. And I understand, and I look back, we didn't really have time for the breather, being gone every 6 months and, coming back to training and all that. But the shifting definitely is what needs to happen in a lot of people understanding mental health.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a delicate balance that some people have figured out, but as a society, we haven't figured out enough of caring about someone's mental health and being, I don't know what the word is, like being aware and actually working on that, and also not being a victim. And there is some part of it where is like, you do have to pull yourself up by the bootstraps a little bit. Our mental problems, this kind of goes back on something you said earlier, whatever mental problems or issues that you have are not everyone else's problem to deal with. While everyone should be patient, while everyone should be understanding, and everyone should work with you on those things, I feel like a lot of people think, well, I have whatever, you got to deal with that. Like that's not it.
Yeah, I agree. So it is. So and that's the weird part is, I think we've gone from a stage of not wanting to talk about mental health and having no clue how to deal with it, to now we've overemphasized it to the point now that, everyone's got something. So now we've got to, if you look, just think if you're a boss and you've got 20 employees and each employee comes up to you and you're trying to do one job, just say you're McDonald's, I don't care, McDonald's manager, and you got burgers flipping and you got the register and you got that, but each employee, 20 of them come up to you, I've got ADHD, I've got depression, I got anxiety, and you need to treat me this way and this way. That one manager has a job to run that shop, but now he's got also 20 other issues that he's supposed to tiptoe around.
Yeah.
That's too hard to just say, now it's on you to figure out not only the job out, but figure out all of our problems and be careful, don't hurt my feelings.
Right.
It's hard. You can't do that. You can't put that on somebody. That's not fair to them to have to tiptoe around anywhere.
No, and it's not an excuse for poor behavior. The thing is, if you have a temper problem or you have depression or you have anxiety or you have these things, what you're hoping to do is learn some skills to cope with that. Because if you do have to live with that, you need to learn how to carry that. Mm-hmm. Of course it might show up in your relationships on some level, but you need to be the one who curbs it more than, and I'm not saying push it down. I'm saying learn to deal with it properly, health in a healthy way. It's not on everyone around you to walk on eggshells to deal with your shit. And
so, and that's an example of, so when my son goes to school each year, right? So he goes to school, the very first week, I have a meeting with the teachers and the principal, and I go, I want to talk to you. And so I pull him in and I go over our story. This is what I've done in my past. This is what happened to our family. This is what we've done. This is what we do now. This is what my, Holden's trained in. This is how he uses it. He may be out of school because we travel for speaking engagements, blah, blah, blah. I'm very upfront with them because I don't want them to hear something and be like, oh, well, we got to be careful or not do anything. It's, you have an asset, right? And he knows what he's capable of doing. So how do you use that asset for good instead of just saying, oh, well, find out later that, the dad has a problem, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm very transparent. I have depression, anxiety, PTSD, you name it, I got it documented. But how do we help you with that? How do I add you into my comfort zone that if you see Holden in a certain way, that maybe I'm having an issue, right? So I don't believe we should be putting our stuff onto other people to deal with, but instead encouraging those people to come into and be a part of our support circle. So if I am going to work and I already know I do have these issues, instead of saying you need to coddle me and you need to bend to my illness, why don't you include them in your support? Hey, I'm going to have bad days. I've been diagnosed with this. I take this kind of stuff. So if anything happens, it's not because I'm trying to be mean to you or I'm doing this, but I would like you to understand, that. And I think that would go a lot farther than waiting till something happens and then falling back on, oh, well, I got depression, so that's why I didn't show up to work, or that's why you need to let me have the day off. It's like, well, how did I know? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not, if you're trusting me to be your boss, I should be able to have some. And I know people, well, I don't want people in my lives. I don't want people to know about my personal life. Well, if your personal life is going to start affecting other people, the job, your community, how do we make that even balance where we're not violating, people's personal lives, but yet it can't corrupt everything around us?
Yeah. It's like I said, it's a delicate balance with each individual and the collective whole. It's not easy to achieve the perfect balance with those things, but it's worth the effort.
Yeah.
It's worth the effort. And like you said, like walking in ahead of time and letting somebody know and bringing them in to help them understand. I look back at when I played music over the last 5 years, my stage partner, I had a guy that I played with, and he had no understanding of depression and even suicidal ideation that I went through at times. And I will give him credit. He put the effort in to understand and was very understanding when I was in those moments. But then in return, he had OCD and something where anytime there was like a lot of stimulation, he would be overloaded very quickly. And that's not something that I deal with. So I had to learn about that. And it was perfect. The longer we were together playing music, the more we learned about each other and how we what lenses we saw the world through, and it made us much more patient with one another. And I think we should all do that for the people in our lives.
And I do that now. So I work with a nonprofit here in Texas that works inside the jails and prisons. And so we go inside there, and I'm not your typical reentry guy. So I bring my military background into there, and I kind of hold these guys accountable. Like, one of the first things I ask them inside the jail is, and this goes both for people that are incarcerated or not incarcerated, why are you doing the things you do? Like, I ask them, why are you in jail? Oh, well, Tom, I did this. No. Why are you in jail? I understand you did something. That's why you're here. But why did you do what you did to get in here? And once we start digging deeper into why we do the things we do, then we can unravel things that won't happen. So on their side, it's once we can unravel why they are the way they are, whether that be generational, whether that be peer pressure, whether that be their home life, lack of home life. Now we can start unraveling the things that are causing them to be angry, alcoholics, drugs, violent, blah, blah, blah. That can go the same thing on the outside. Why do we act the way we act? And is it because of something? And then once we figure that out, finding the right help, that's right. And I'm a big proponent of therapy. Everyone, I believe, should be in therapy. I'm in therapy, and I've been in therapy for over 15 years now. My son, 2 years ago at like age 10 said, hey, I want a therapist. And I was like, all right, cool. And I go and let him have therapy. And what's weird is the therapist be like, well, do you want to sit in on it? I'm like, no, why would I sit on his therapy? Like, This is it. Well, don't you, like, no, unless he's going to do something drastic that I need to know of, then why would I go in there? This is his time to talk. If he wanted to talk to me, he has all the time in the world. So even kids, I believe, if they ask for it, or even if they don't ask for it, might benefit from it. It's just another person that is unbiased to them, right? And help them out. And so I try to do that inside the jail and stuff, and teach these guys that, whatever you need to do to get away from what the reasons you're doing it is, because obviously you're not good at it because you got caught and you're in here. And so we need to figure out how to break that cycle.
Yeah. No, I'm so with you on the therapy aspect. I think that therapy gets a bad name from a lot of people because they believe that a person's going to tell them how to be or how to live, and that's not the point of it. The point of it is they have the knowledge of the tools that you need to help you cope with whatever you're dealing with.
Now, so my issue with that is that's partially right and partially not. And like I tell the guys inside the jail, I went to see a therapist in 2008. My boss, we was in Iraq. My boss, we had 2 months left to go back. My boss wanted to come back to the States, said he was having issues with his kid at school. And I said, all right, cool, I got it. I'll bring him back. And me and a buddy were going to bring the guys back while he went to deal with this. So he went back. But what we didn't know, he was having issues at home, and he ended up killing himself. So I had to go from Iraq back home, bury him, present a flag, go back, get the guys, bring the guys back, hold another ceremony, present another flag. So I went and knew I was messed up. So I went and sought help, but I sought help off the base. I wanted it so no one would know what I was doing. Still sanctioned by the military. They were still paying this person, but the person didn't have a military culture. The person didn't understand what I was going through. They just thought I was grieving, and they don't understand. Some people don't understand the grieving process between, I'll just call it cliques, like, military culture, LGBT community, African Americans, whatever it is. We're all our own little peoples, and unless you have the right person that understands that culture, she was just telling me, well, you're just grieving, you're going to be fine, don't worry about it. And I was like, no, I'm really messed up. Like, this is really affecting me. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, it's part of the grieving process. You're going to be fine. And I had told that person that I was going to ride a motorcycle. I rode my motorcycle. And I said, well, your help was so helpful for me. I'm going to ride my motorcycle into a wall. And she laughed and was like, no, you're not. And she let me leave. And so I felt, if therapy is going to be like that, then I'm never going to go to therapy again, because they don't understand me.
Right.
But what I tell people now is, you've got to find a therapist that is one that's not going to coddle you. Not say, Tom, you're right. The world's so bad, and you're right on. I know I need somebody that is going to put me in order, but also balance out with me. Tell me when I'm right. Tell me when I'm wrong. And then how do we get past that to a healthy conversation to make sure that I stay on the straight line? And so I tell people, like, don't stop going to a therapist. Go to a therapist that bonds with you, because most of us don't ever just get married, right? We just don't find one person and say, yep, I'm married to you for 100 years. Most of us date, find likes, dislikes, and then we'll live together for a little bit and make sure that all the chemistry is there for the most part. And then we get married. Therapy is no different than that. It's deeper than that sometimes too, because you're going to share your deepest, darkest secrets with somebody that you got to make sure you're finding the right person. So continue to look for that person, because you just don't want someone. And another part is what I've learned over being in the mental field and dealing with the stuff that I deal with is, they're not trained really to help us. They're not trained. They don't know a lot about mental health. They can claim they do and have these degrees and stuff, but I deal with all the way from Congress down. And I can tell you right now, a lot of them don't have the skills. They're taught skills. They don't have the skills. So I tell people, if you're going to go to therapy, and especially when I talk to the guys in the jails, you need to write your life out. You need to write out about as much as you can know about your life, your childhood. Mommy didn't love me enough. Didn't have a daddy. This, and this. I saw this happen. I was in the streets and this got shot. You need to chronic your whole life. And then you need to give that to a therapist, because they're only going to go off what they know, off the people they've either been trained or the people they've seen. And they're going to help you the best they can with what they know. But if you give them half your life, now you cut all that other BS out, and they can start working from what you actually have trauma with, instead of them trying to figure out what trauma you have. Hey, I think you got ADHD. You're right. I think I do. And you may not even have that stuff, but because you don't know yourself, and that person is trying to do the best they can to, well, he fits this, and I've seen this before, and I'm trained. I always tell people, you got to go into therapy with the book to give them to help you. Otherwise, you're expecting them to fix something that they probably can't fix.
Yeah, that's great advice, and also great advice to. I think it's a step. It's a bad blockade between people actually getting therapy, is that they have the fear of doing it in the first place, and the idea that they can't just sign up, get one person, and that's it. Is intimidating. The idea of having to go through several and put the work in to find someone else or whatever. But if something is affecting you, which mostly, if you're dealing with anything mentally, it is affecting you daily.
Oh, yeah.
It's worth the time. And I think a lot of people just fear even getting to the bottom of what's going on with them, though. Like it becomes a part of your identity to have this problem. You don't realize that you could have a whole new identity that has better relationships, that you're more successful at your job, that you're more successful at life, because you've went through these steps to work through this shit.
Oh, totally agree. Because like I said before 3 November 2010, I thought I was unstoppable, unbeatable. I was with some super cool guys that were doing super cool stuff. So I thought it was super cool, and I was doing great things for this country. And nobody could stop me. I was untouchable and blah, 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 blah. And then 3 November 2010, I hold my fiance, which is now my wife, hostage for 7 hours and have a standoff with the police. And you find out real quickly who's on your side, who's not on your side, and you're humbled real, real quickly.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot of the situation. And so that's what's even worse about it is, and I'll just call her my wife because that's what she is now. When she was hostage for that 7 hours, she remembers it all. So everything everything I know is from her side. And it's scary that, I was out for that long and, on top of the world. And then, the people, the police wanted to come get me. I had, leadership stuff go on. I had a lot of things that 7 hours, even though I was in the military already 16 years, those 7 hours dictated how the rest of my life is going to be. Even when I came out of it and I was even like I am now and I'm like, oh crap, what's going on? I knew I had a top secret clearance. I knew I was in a special unit. I knew all this stuff. And I was like, oh crap. And I was going to let her go. And I let her leave and all that stuff. And she knew not to leave that room because if she left that room, she knew that I was either going to go by my own hand or by the police. And so she stood there and sat with me and just talked to me. And I don't know how many people, on that side would do that either. And we do this a lot, and we always ask that question. And a lot of people are like, they don't think they could have stayed in a room with somebody that, had just tried to, had threatened them for 7 hours to kill them. And then, when given the chance to leave, that they probably would have just left. And it takes a strong person, and that's what she is, a strong person to be able to sit there in the face of all that, to sit there and still try to get both of us alive, not just herself out, get us both alive out of there, and then be able to stick with me. Again, she was my fiance, so I went to a hospital. They tested me for everything in the world. I had nothing in my system. Had never done a drug in my life. I wasn't drinking. I literally had a snap. And again, it goes to who, and I learned real quickly too that who was on my side and not my side, and who's going to support me afterwards. Which is good because a lot of us in our lives, daily lives, have a lot of friends. Like, I got 1,300 Facebook friends. I got, 2,200 friends on TikTok. But how many do you really have stand by your side that'll be there to help you out, right?
You can count them on one hand or less. And
when you have an incident like that, you really see who runs for the hills and hides behind a tree or doesn't know you, doesn't claim you anymore. It's really, really humbling, but actually really good because now I know to this day, like who's on my side, who's not on my side, and who I need to keep in my life because they serve a purpose. So everyone in my life or my circles, I know exactly where they fit. And I don't think a lot of people can say that because they haven't had that big of a traumatic thing to happen to cause a division, who they really are.
Oh, did I lose you?
No.
No, you tripped up a second. I thought I lost you for a second.
So
I think you're good. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I've went through, one, moving a lot. That will also help you know who's really with you or not.
Mm-hmm.
But even in some of the darkest times, it seemed like all the people that were around me just disappeared. Like when I was completely alone and needed people the most, the people that I thought were around just weren't around.
Yeah.
And it's a hard lesson, but it ultimately is a good lesson.
And one thing I tell other guys, and like the guys that are in jail, because it's obviously a captive audience and they can't get away from me. They're kind of stuck there listening to me. I try to tell people too is why you have that time. So while I was in the psych ward, I didn't just sit there and like we talked about earlier, I could have played the victim role. I could have sat in there and said, woe is me, I'm this veteran that's got all these issues, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, that's not how I was trained. That's not how I was raised. And so I was like, I'm going to dust myself off. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to do what I got to do to get better. How do I get better? How do I do myself? So I literally wrote a list of everybody that talked to me that night and what they said to me and how I took it. Because what I learned over time is a lot of people want to help, but they help from their perspective, what they think you need to hear, what they think you should hear. They don't actually listen to what I need, right? And so from my circle, like I wrote everyone what they said, how I took it, and then if I was to do this again, what I needed you to tell me to get out of it, right? And so when I approached each individual outside, again, I learned real quickly who is on my side and not side, because there were some people that said they wouldn't change what they said to me that night, that they still would say the same things, and a lot of what everyone was saying was wrong, inaccurate, not what I needed to hear. Because at that time, it doesn't matter what you think or what your opinion is. You could be 100% right, but that's not what I need to get out of my head. And so I actually had to cut off family members. I've had to learn where certain family members are or friends are because of where they are on this field. Like I do have family members that still don't believe it happened, I don't think, because they never can see me in that image. They never saw me be vulnerable. They never saw me have a weak moment. So for them, I have to treat them differently. Like I understand they still love me and care for me, but I understand they can't be there for me in another time like that. And then there's just straight people that I know that I can't count at all, because it's more about what they believe is the problem. So I tell a lot of people, really, when you're in any situation, if you're in jail, if you're out, whatever, take a real inventory of who's in your circle. Take a real inventory of who's in your life. Are they serving you a purpose, or are you serving them a purpose? And then you got to handle each person differently.
You're hoping that that's a mutual thing. You hope you're both serving each other a purpose that's useful. It's also difficult because wouldn't you say that part of it, when you're going through something, like I find with depression, like when people try to be there for me, they just don't understand because they've never dealt with it. So it's not that they don't care, it's that they don't have the right words to say because they have no concept of how to deal with it. I'm very knowledgeable about what I deal with. I've spent a lot of time educating myself. So it's like to go to someone who has no clue, they're just going to say simple shit that, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's the point in me even having a conversation with them about it?
And that kind of goes to where the mental health field needs to get better at. Now that we've started figuring out what we need and we're starting to be more individualistic about what we need, what we really start needing to do, and this again is a great segue into what we do, is we need to start trusting those people around us, our friends, our support circles, and sitting down and having those conversations now and telling them what depression is, what it looks like to me. Not what depression looks like on TV or what social media is saying depression is, what depression means to me, and this is how depression looks for me. Now, when you see me in this moment, or when I come to you, I'm in this moment, then this is what you need to say to me, or this is how you need to handle me, or all this stuff. So I don't really have anybody in my circle that if I go to them and say, hey, I'm having a moment, that they're lost. Because I've already had this sit down conversation with them. I've already told them what to do. I've already told them what to look for. And that's the same thing what we do with our son. Like a lot of kids that are raised in homes that have drug, alcohol, abuse, mental health, family issues. It's even all over TikTok. Those kids are like shunned. They're put in their rooms. They're told don't see it, the elephant in the room. And then what ends up happening is those kids end up either having the same issues, are not part of the support system, and don't know how to handle any of that stuff, right? Well, our son, so we do have 7 children all together, but we do have one together. Well, the one we had together, he was born 2 years to the date of the incident. So my day is 3 November 2010. He was born 1 November 2012. So that date for me doesn't have to be a dark day now because I celebrate his birth. But what's also unique about him is that he's been in every podcast. He's been on every conference. We literally just got back from Maryland. I have trained him in everything that I'm trained in. I have trained him in everything that's wrong with me, because I want him to understand that he understands if he's done something wrong in this house, the reaction he's going to get. But he also understands that if I'm in a certain mood or if I have a certain thing going on, how he needs to react. He's not going to run away and hide under his bed. He's not going to run to his room. He's going to do what I've taught him on how to approach me, how to handle it. And then if it is beyond his level, then he knows how to go get mom. Him and mom then know how to get me. And then I trust them to be that stuff for me. So nobody in this house is scared of me when it deals with that, because we've educated, we've included them in this. I've included them into my support circle. I've included them in how to help more. And so for that purpose, he's able now to feel free to talk to us. He understands, looking at this is what we educate schools on too, is he can go to school and he's like our little spy. He can identify the kids that are having issues at school because he knows what to look for. He knows when a kid is having issues. He knows when they're looking suddenly, because that's what he's trained in. So he can bring it to our attention. He can bring it to the school's attention, and we can try to squash that way before anything can happen. I think we need to do that more for our children. We need to include them more in this process for themselves and for us. Even though they're children, it's real humbling when a 12-year-old tells a 50-year-old, Dad, do you think you really need another drink? Hey, Dad, I'm noticing this. Instead of me going, be quiet, kid. I got this. I'm 50 years old. You don't understand what I've been through. I value his opinion. I value his voice in this house. I value that the stuff that we've taught him is for the good, not for him just being a kid.
Right. So you trust your ability to educate him in the things that he needs to know about. And I'm assuming he gets the same treatment in return. Like, how to deal with what he's going through. So when you say the right things as well, it makes a lot of sense. It's kind of strange that, and I'm sure that they have some part maybe in health class where they talk about mental health in school, but it's kind of strange that it's not a much bigger part of their education. It seems like teaching people for this reason, not, hey, let me teach you about what might be wrong with you. How about, hey, let me teach you what might be wrong with people around you, and here's how to deal with them and what to spot whenever they're going through it. That's actually so brilliant.
Well, unfortunately, our education system does suck. So, and as far as dealing with this, so I know they used to live in Ohio, and my son, one day they asked, what are you proud of, you're doing and all this? And he talked about suicide prevention. They locked the school down. They literally called me, and I come into school and I looked at, because I could see him through the glass door, and I was like, man, I was giving him that eye, like, what'd you do, man? Like, me and you're going to have this talk. Because they had him squared off. There was two teachers holding him back, and then the principal and a team was coming towards me outside. I was like, man, what did he do? And the teacher and the principal was like, Mr. Cruz, we need to talk to you. I was like, what? And I'm looking at him through the glass, because I'm like, man, you mean you're going to have this? And they said, we asked, we had a thing today, and they were talking about this, and he mentioned suicide prevention, and blah blah. I was like, and the problem is, well, he mentioned suicide. I'm like, you got 10 minutes for me to tell you what we do and why he's proud of the work he's doing, and what you're just now about to tell him he's not good at it and he is good? Because did he tell you we just got back from the White House? Did he tell that we were up there for the signing of this? Is that why he's telling you this stuff? And then here in Texas, the school, he went to tell the school psychologist or the therapist or whatever they call them, clinician, to say, hey, I think I need to talk to you. I'm having a depressive moment, all this stuff. And they turned him around, and he's in middle school. They turned him around and said, man, there's no way you're depressive. You're too young. You can't have depression. So luckily, my kid is trained in this. So my kid knows what to do. But how many people have been turned around because that another student has gone in there, was respectful of that person's time, and asked to speak to them and said they had an issue, that they turned them around because they're a child and there's no way they can have these things? Are we not paying attention to what's on the news and what's going on in our schools? Like, are we not seeing what's going around the country? Like, how can you be educated in this and then sit there and dismiss it at the same time by saying, you're right, they may not have had depression. They may have had a depressive moment, a sad moment, something that they don't know how to explain. Why don't you work them through that instead of just saying you can't have that?
Yeah, I mean, doesn't that seem like kind of a recipe for disaster when you don't want kids to talk about suicide prevention and you're also turning them away for whatever they think they're dealing with?
I would say if we actually look deeper into all these stories that have been on the news, and you go, and again, don't just look at the story. Let's go back and look at parts of the stories. At some point, these people probably tried to reach out and were dismissed and told no, or told something else, or not believed, or shunned or bullied for the way they were being open. I'll probably say a lot of these came to that point. Not, again, never justifying it, never a reason to do something. But if we really actually peel these onions back, there was probably some kind of history of not signs being there, warnings being put out, people asking for it, and just the other side not understanding how to get those people the proper help they need and dismissing them.
Well, it seems like once something like that happens, no one wants to take responsibility.
Oh, of course not.
Everybody's worried about their own ass, their own job. They don't, and it's never, again, like it feels like it would be more proactive than this. I have no confidence in our school system from top to bottom, to be honest. But let's move on past that. As far as the mental health aspect of it, you would think with all the things that have happened that this would be front and center. Mm-hmm. Like I can't think of something that's more important to be educated on, to be honest with you.
No, I mean, that goes along with, our schools should be teaching about finances and interest and taxes and mental health, and adding all that stuff in there. Mental health is the key to, and I tell people inside the jails and everything, if we don't fix this, the mental health and how our brain works and all that, nothing else is going to work right. Nothing. Because 100%. Everything we do is based off of this. Is it how right is our brain? How you live, how you eat, how you work out, how you feel each day, how you deal with your finances, how you go to work. Everything starts with this. And if this is a millimeter out of whack, everything is out of whack. It doesn't matter what the rest of this body looks like. I don't care. I could be, worked out, be jacked up, be Mr. Olympia. But if this isn't right, it doesn't matter what the rest of this is doing.
100%. And it doesn't seem, as a single almost 49-year-old, it doesn't seem like that's a value in a lot of people in the dating realm, where you would think especially by our age, like that should be the number one thing. Like, are you emotionally intelligent? Do you have your mental self together enough to even have a relationship with somebody? Oh, yeah. And it just doesn't seem like anyone even thinks about that. Like, what's in your bank account? What does your body look like? What do you know what I mean? Like, shit that you're like, of course that stuff matters. All of it matters. But like, I can't think of something more important to me than somebody being at least, it's not even about being mentally well. It's about being mentally aware. Mm-hmm. Like, I deal with my things, and it definitely affects people around me in a far off way, but not directly. When I'm with people, I'll talk about it, but it's not like I'm, you know what I'm saying? It's not directly affecting them in that moment. I'm not doing things that are affecting people like that because I'm aware. Like I know what it is. I can step back from it and look at it because I've done it enough and I've learned enough to be like, this is that thing, I don't know.
And it's about managing, we train. I tell the people inside the jails, and that's what we do inside here. Is it's about what is, and I know some people don't like the word anymore. I don't know what they're renaming it, but your triggers. So what situations, what people, what smells, what areas have you in that certain situation, right? And you got to try to figure out as much of those as possible so that those around you can recognize, if I'm in a big group of people, I'm normally fine, but there may be some days that I'm in a group of and I'm starting to get antsy, and I'm starting to look for doors, and I'm starting to look for a way out. If the people around me are already knowing that, like the ones that I'm there with, then they can help me. Like, hey, Tom, you want to step outside for a second? You need some air, and then I got to be aware of that so that I'm aware. Like, yeah, 90% of the time when I'm in a big group, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm always scanning, I'm always looking, paying attention. But there is that 10% where I'm like, I can't be here. I'm sweating. I don't want to be here. It's definitely, I've got to either step back and go, you know what? I got to go. I got to break away for a minute or whatever. And then I've got to go through my process of not just freaking out, going, and running to my car and doing whatever. It's like, okay, how are my skills? Okay. I'm okay. I'm fine. Look around, breathe, air. Okay. But you got to put things in place so that doesn't overwhelm you, that doesn't take over your life. Instead, how do you manage it? How do you recognize those things? Like, I know I'm in this situation. I know this could possibly happen. Instead of just going blindly into the situations and being like, oh, and just unleashing on it everybody that didn't deserve it.
And mental health is so complex in that
Oh, yeah.
it's not all learned. Some of it's learned, some of it's DNA, man. Like some of it you're just born with. I look at like me and my brother. I had him on a few weeks ago. We deal with a lot of the same shit. We were raised. I mean, our dad wasn't around. We had the most selfless, kind stepdad of all time. Dude was amazing. My mom was a good person. We had a pretty functional, typical family. Always support my mom. Always, you're handsome. I love you. You know, like it was never like we didn't get the attention or the love or whatever. But both of us deal with really dark depression. Why? It could completely be out of our control and in our DNA. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's just like anything else. I mean, people are born with obvious like surface defects, you know, where they're missing a limb or whatever. They're born with it. Same shit happens with your brain. Most of us.
And those are the easy ones. And those are the easy ones to figure out, right? Talking to your family, having an open conversation with your parents and grandparents and cousins and all of them, and say, hey, or brothers and sisters, and saying if they're experiencing the same things. Those are kind of easy conversations to have and try to figure out, so that you're not surprised in the moment, and then those other things that you figure out along the way of not liking to be around things or smells or whatever, those come up as you're along. So yeah, I totally agree. That's I think more people, and I think we're eventually get there once we get past all this extreme cuddliness and participation award stuff. If we can bring it back to center and then do exactly what you're saying, kind of like really take an inventory of yourself. And I think that's and it's hard because a lot of us don't like to look at ourselves bad or whatever. We always want to see everything positive, but the bad help us grow into even a better person. Yep. Once we identify it, so that it doesn't sneak out, and because you never know. And I had to learn that the hard way. Is I would never, and I still to this day never ever thought I would sit there and hold someone hostage and try to kill two people. Yeah. No one ever, if you talk to anybody in my circles, never would have thought that. Nobody, and there's still people that don't believe it.
Well, going through all of this, if you have people in your life you love, your could be your parents, could be your siblings, could be your significant other, your friends, your kids. Isn't it worth you being the best person you can possibly be for them? Aren't they worth the time for you to put in to work through these things, or at least have an understanding of yourself, to take that, mental inventory and spend some time in front of the mirror? That's what love is. Mm-hmm. Like, is that not what love is? Like, I'm going to give you the best of me that I can possibly give you today, and hopefully tomorrow's a little bit better.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, it's the one area that we are horrible at, because we do everything else to do. We always try to make sure there's food on the table, a roof over the head, the bills are paid. We do the jobs we do. We try to be best at the jobs. We try to give them, everyone around us, everything we can give them. If we can give them, the newest iPhone or the newest game system, we'll do that. Or if we can, make sure that they're doing whatever. But why do we do that? We don't do that with our mental health very well, right? And listen to each other. So it's kind of weird that the most important thing is really the almost the worst thing we're good at.
Well, when you look back on what you were saying about, if you were jacked and had the perfect body, but this shit was fucked up. Same goes for being a parent, especially. Like, if you're making sure that your kids got the best of everything and the everything you want, but then you're mentally abusing him unintentionally or emotionally abusing him because of your fucked up shit, are you really doing him any good? Like, I'm sure he'd rather have less things and a better life with you. You know what I mean? Like, kids are resilient in a lot of ways, but fucking someone up mentally, dude, that, I mean, in all honesty, as a parent, nothing matters to me more than my kids. And my biggest fear is doing any kind of damage, to have them sitting in a therapist chair for fucking years talking about shit I did. Yep. Like that means more to me than anything else, really.
And that's trying to take, an inventory and listening to them. It goes back to what we talked about actually giving them a voice.
Yeah.
Right? Like, sitting down, talking to them, even if you've had an outburst, or if you can catch it, like, I've caught myself before, and I'm like, ooh, maybe it was, maybe I should go up and, like, may I have a conversation now, right? Like, we good? We good? Like, I said the dumb, blah, blah. Again, he's 12. Like, technically I rule the house. Like, man, like, no, this is, all this. And so like, I try to like, hey, this is what I meant by what I was saying. This is what I was trying to get across. And this is why I'm saying what I say, or this is why we got to do what we're doing, because you're looking at it right now on this lens, but try to look at it like long term. Try to look at the effects of what could do this longer, and you gotta. So there's that balance of the emotional intelligence of them, and then bringing down to their level and trying to understand them and break it down to them, but also understanding they're not going to get it. Like I look back when I was younger, I didn't get a lot of stuff. I was pretty dumb, and I was like, oh man, I was book smart all day long, but like in reality, I was like, ooh, I want to be a smart kid, and so I try to like. I try to understand, but then it's hard. It's hard as a parent nowadays to do both. Like, how can you be stern, but not hurt them also, right? To give them, and then you try to give them enough rope to get loose, but then you try to pull it back, right? And so it's very hard. And then like you and me talking about, we got our own issues. So how do we not have our own issues play into that? And you're like, oh, it's hence why I have a therapist.
Yeah.
Hey, I need to know if I screwed this up or not. Like, was I a little too harsh or like what?
Yeah. And there's no exact roadmap that anyone can have for all of us. We're all so significantly different from one another. It's a hard thing to juggle. And I think a lot of people with parenting, it's really easy to just parent emotionally. And that's not the way to do it, because that's when you make those mistakes and get out of hand with your kid, say some shit you shouldn't say, or like there's no lesson in it for them. You're just angry at what they did, and you're not actually teaching them anything.
Yeah.
And there's also another aspect of it, just going off something you said, there's a part of it where you have to be willing to learn from your kids too.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be humble enough and trust your parenting enough to like understand that they're different from you. They're not you. So you have to adapt to them a little bit, but on the same respect, like my kids are very intelligent. My kids have learned a lot from me, and now they've set off and they're taking in the world with all that they've learned. And there's shit that I learn from them all the fucking time, not even just about them, but about other people and about the world. And I think that it's not the same from their other parent, in my particular situation, where they're looked at like, you're just kids. They're fucking people, dude. Just because they're little people doesn't mean they're stupid. I think I lost you there. You're all froze up.
Yeah.
Oh, you're back. Just a little glitch in the matrix. So we're knocking on an hour here. Is there anything else we didn't get to in this subject?
I think we tied it all pretty good.
Yeah, I think so too. I had another question completely separate from that, just because of your background.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the shit going on right now with Iran? With us
I was waiting for that.
I mean, I just think it's an interesting. I'm going to tell you right out the gate, I'm not on either side of the political spectrum. I'm very down the center. I grew up mostly Democrat and at least socially liberal, I suppose. Yeah. But the left has pushed me further and further to the center, or even had I voted, I would have voted for Trump probably. Right. But now he does a lot of things in the course of the year that I'm like, I can't be on board with some shit. Some shit I think's fine. So I don't have a monkey in that, whatever, but just what are your thoughts? What do you think about this?
So serving 26 years in the military, obviously my goal was always to make sure that I got the most out of it. Like whoever was going to be in there that was going to give me bigger pay, make my life a lot easier. That still falls into, now, right? Like I'm always looking for the candidate that's going to better not only my future, but what's the generational, right? I don't know if I'm a conspiracy theorist or, whatever, tinfoil hat. And I do this with each president. It doesn't matter. I think he is a businessman, not a politician, right? So everything to him is in a business way. I really think that he's and I could be 100% wrong. It totally could be way off. But if I'm looking at it from a real big overall lens, I think he looked at when he was president the first time, what went right, what went wrong, what he wanted to implement if he did win again. He saw what happened when he wasn't president between his time period and now. And I think he decided that if he did win the presidency, he needs to act quickly because if you know the presidencies, it could change. It changes every 4 years. Doesn't got a choice, right? Sometimes you get lucky to serve twice. Sometimes you're knocked out after the first one. But if you try to implement anything and if you wait, like, oh, I just need the people to love me. Well, now you almost knocked a year off. Now you got 3 years. Now you try to implement laws or rules or anything like that. Now that's like almost another year to 2 years. So really your last year is kind of almost out the door anyways. So if I'm looking at it from a way, if I was president, that if I had already had a chance and this is what I messed up on, this is what I heard the people need or don't need, or this is where I think the future, again, I would be looking long game. Like not just my 4 years, not just the 8 years. I'm looking long.
Right.
I think he is implementing things so fast because he understands he doesn't have time. He doesn't have time to be friendly. He doesn't have time to have people like him. He needs to make decisions now that, yes, we're going to feel the pain, but over time, we're going to grow. We're going to get the fruits of the labor from that. And yes, there's going to be collateral damage right now. There's going to be people that's going to get hurt. There's going to be things that no one's going to like because we've gotten too comfortable as a country the way we are, which is why this country is in the way it is. We don't have any unity. Everything is about, again, we talked about it. Everything is individualistic. What is good for me? Not what to my left and right, as in the military was like, I got to protect my brother. I don't care if you were gay, LGBT, what color you were. If you could shoot your weapon straight and you could send that foxhole with me, then you were with me. If you couldn't shoot your gun straight and you couldn't do what I asked you to do, then you had no use. I don't care what you look like, how tall you were, how short you were, fat, skinny. It was all about work, right? And I think he's in the same way as he's trying to just do so much. And he knows people aren't going to like him. He's not been liked for a long time. I think back even when in his TV days, no one liked him. He's just used to not being liked. And that fuels him to do more. I do think that he is implementing a lot of stuff real quickly, and whether that's a long-term game, understanding that some of this probably is not going to work out. Some of this is going to work out, and then some of it's going to be generational.
Isn't that particular point though? I think that's a good point. Is that whether you're on the left or the right, or whether you like Biden or Obama or Trump or whoever the fuck it is that you're into, isn't every president like half good things and half bad things if you're really looking at it objectively?
I think so.
I don't think there's ever been a president who's just knocked it out of the park on every issue and we've all went, oh, that worked out for everyone's greater good. It's always some things work out and some things don't work out. That's just what it is.
And I think he's just taken notes of everything that people's had issue with, and he's trying to just slam it all and like fix everything, right? And then kind of let whatever happens, that he's trying to force a hand that whoever is picked the next time, whether it be a left or a right or an independent, that they have no choice but to continue to try to fix the things that were broken. And so instead of just letting things break, and, kind of put a law here, put a law there, maybe one law, blah, 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 blah. I think he's just going to mess everything up and try to do the best to clean it up and then go, all right, these are the issues the country's had for years and years and years. Now it's time for you to go ahead and start cleaning these up and fixing them and letting the world know kind of what our issues are. The Iran thing, we know, come on, they have not been what they are for a long time. Did we do the right thing? Well, who knows if we did. My issues is they have been a problem everywhere we've been, everywhere we go. When we were in Iraq, when we were in Afghanistan, everywhere the country itself is a nice country. I truly believe that people are like every other country, very nice people. I think that Iran keeps their hands clean, which are not clean, by using other entities to do their job. So in fact, they're like, well, we're a nice country. I agree. But you have bad people that you have do bad things because they're willing to do it. So in contrast, that makes you bad. Even though if 95% of your country is nice, you're using outside entities to do your work. And not saying that any other country doesn't, they're just very open of who they use, and every other country uses different groups, and different countries use what they got to do. So I think this was just I think it was just a warning. Personally, I think it's hey, knock your stuff off. Come on now, come back to the table. Really sit down and have a help. Do we? I'm kind of tired of being the police of the world. I kind of really do believe, like when he was on trying to fix the country internally and trying to stay out of other people's business. Because again, I was part of NATO. We do everything. We're the world. We do everything for the world. When our own country, we don't have everything straight in this country. So I would like to see us fix our own stuff first and let everybody else fix their stuff, because those other countries have been messing with their stuff for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah.
Are we going to make an impact? No. Could we play in other roles? Probably. So it's just, I would like for us to be able to fix our own stuff, just like every other country wants to fix theirs. And I think they should be left to fix their stuff. And if they can fix it, if not, and maybe after we get our stuff straight, then we go and start doing everything else. Or if we're asked to. I guess we were asked to go do this, and they really needed our help, so we did it. I think it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out over the next week to a month, because that really is going to make a difference on what happens next.
Yeah.
I don't want to see us invade Iran. I think it would be stupid. It would be useless.
Yeah.
Because the majority of the country is just like invading Russia. It would be stupid to invade Russia, because the majority of the Russians are very great people, are very good people, don't even know what's going on for the most part. They don't even care, right? It's not on them. So I think it would be a stupid move to just go in on that unless there is some really big drastic thing that they're going to come out with. Will they? I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to come out with something, but I think it's not going to be as drastic as they're saying they are. I think they're going to do something, try to hold up their, just like bully on the street, right? They've got to show something to their people. They cannot not do something. So they're going to do something. We're hoping that it's just a tick for tack, which is what, if you watch the emergency council today, that's exactly what the president said. The president of the council said, we cannot get into this tic tac. We got to come to the table. Yeah, they did what they did. Y'all did. We just stop playing this childhood playground stuff, and let's come to the table. They did what they did. You're doing what you're doing, because that's what it's going to come to. It's going to come to tic tacs. They're going to do something. We're going to feel obligated to respond, and then would it come to a world war? I don't think it's going to get. I don't think it'll get that far, because there's too many entities in that area that this isn't going to benefit. There's way too many countries in between everybody, and to include us over there, that would be like, hey, this is gonna harm our economic. This is gonna harm our tourists. This is gonna harm our livelihood in the area. That if they do it to that, it's. So I think there's gonna be a lot of behind the door. Hey, you both need to knock your stuff off. Y'all just need to settle down, fix it, and let's move on.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose like if you don't take it that way, what's the end game? Yeah. Like, what is the end game? Because if we were to invade Iran, which by the way is a much bigger and more powerful country than Iraq or Afghanistan, which neither one worked out in the long run. No. Even if we're able to remove their government, how's that worked out in Afghanistan? How's that worked out in Iraq? It didn't work out well. It's caused a power vacuum, and further issues developed later. It's just what's the cost and what's the end game? Maybe Trump's just grandstanding and saying, hey, we can fuck you up, like, come talk. Maybe he's just getting leverage. I mean, who the fuck knows? But
or is that a sign? Is that a sign to another country?
Yeah,
to show that we can do what we say we do, or don't say we do. Is that a sign to other countries? Because of course, around the world, everybody is threatening to do something. China's ready to go to Taiwan. Russia's still in Ukraine. China's trying to help everybody. Russia, blah blah. So was this a statement to other countries to say, hey, again, knock it off. Everybody stop doing what you're doing all around the world. Yemen's got issues, Sudan, Syria, you name it. Everyone's got some conflict with somebody. And so is this a hey, let's stop all this knick-knack and stuff. Let's stop all this little nicking, and we still can touch all around the world.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's so funny to me at this point where I just look, and I've always been fascinated with military shit as a kid, growing up watching Combat with Vic Morrow and fucking G.I. Joe even, you know what I mean? Like, it was just, I've always been in love with that. But now as I'm older, I'm like, I can't believe grown ass people can't solve shit without blowing each other up. It's fucking wild.
Yeah.
It's like middle school mentality for grown ass people that are in their fucking 50s, 60s, and 70s.
And that goes back to just like the world is already set, right?
Yeah.
The lands and lines for all countries and stuff are pretty much been set for a very long time. So why can't we all just leave each other alone?
Yeah.
Like I'm in my house, but I don't go next door and bug my neighbor and be like, hey, I don't like the way your couch is sitting. And, I think I'm going to blow up your house. Like if a country explodes or a country has internal issues and they're internally doing whatever they're doing, then we're like, well, sorry. Like, what do you want us to do? Like, I got crap going on in my country. Not like go to another country and be like, hey, I got a problem with you. Well, what did I do? I don't know. I just don't like you. Like,
well, I mean, and here we are with, what is it, like $36 trillion deficit or whatever in this country, and it's constantly growing. At some point, they're saying in the near future, our taxes will only cover the interest.
Yeah.
Like, that's not sustainable. Like, we need to deal with shit here for a while and start getting trending in the right direction before we worry about helping anybody with any fucking thing.
No, I agree, because we can't continue. Like I said before, we can't continue to be the world's savior. And that's what's funny is the rest of the world has been around a lot longer than we have, yet somehow we are trying to solve everyone else's problems.
Yeah.
Like, you guys have been around you've been conquered, you've been famined, you've been regimed, you've had monarchies and emperors and all these other things over thousands of years. Yeah, you're coming to the 250-year-old.
Yeah.
When I was living in Belgium, my house was 1,300 years old. Like, my house was old, like 3 times older than the United States, and seen more in history than the history of the U.S. So it's like, it's funny. I understand where I forgot what they call this today, the leader of the free world and all that stuff and blah blah blah. Which I agree. I love this country. The country is but we do have a lot of work on our own stuff to hold that title. That I think we need to have that title. We need a lot more work on ourselves before we can tell other countries, hey, this is what you should look like. Yeah. Because right now, the other country will be like, all right, cool, you're the leader of the free world. What does that look like? We're like, it's not LA. Well, it's not, it's not Texas. It's not, Chicago, New York. What's the model? If you're the leader of the free world, what does that look like? Besides having the most powerful military in the world, having all this stuff, like, what is a model for, the greatest country in the world? Like, what does that look like? And okay, cool. We'll model that after you show us what that formula looks like.
Well, and excuse me if I don't want to go further into debt and put the men and women of our armed forces' lives on the line for countries that, kind of like the police in the United States, where everybody hates the cops until they got to call 911 and they need somebody to take care of their shit. Like, right. Most of the world wants to live in America, but also hates America somehow. You know what I'm saying? Like, but hey, when they need us to fucking drop bombs and save their ass, then we're the first call. But like, I just don't feel like most of them appreciate what we do or what we've done.
I think that goes back to your statement of, well, what is the long-term gain?
Yeah.
For any of this stuff. I really do put a lot of faith, and that may be my own stupidity and naive, is I really do put a lot of faith in our upper government. I really do. I really try to believe that everybody that's in Congress, Senate, the House, the White House, and everything else, and I understand there's agendas and things and stuff, but I really try to believe that no matter who's in those positions, try to really do the best for America and are making decisions long term. I try to really hold that, as somebody that served 26 years and just, I was obedient to whatever I was told to do. I really still try to put faith and believe that, maybe because I'm not privy to that, right? Like being in the military, I was privy to a lot of information that the regular people weren't, privy to. So I knew why we were doing a lot of things when I was seeing on the news or hearing from people. Well, I don't understand, and I did. I understood some of the things we did and why we needed to do it and all that but I couldn't tell you because it's part of a bigger plan. It's part of a bigger thing. So you may not be able to see it right now, but I knew where we were going with what I had to do. I still try to put that faith in our government, no matter who's in the positions, that maybe we just don't see it and we're not getting it and we're only being fed whoever wants to feed it to us. But there is a plan. There is something. I could be 100% wrong, but I wish I could. People are just making decisions to make this well, I'm just going to go and do that. I would hope that there's talks and there's been planning and there's short-term, long-term effects and all those things are talked out and worked out before just quick things, and that we're just not seeing it or understanding it because we are not privy to the bigger picture of it all. And again, I may be naive. It may be just me having a lot of faith when I shouldn't, but
yeah, you definitely have more confidence in them than I do.
I know.
I feel like there's a sinister, whether it's the military industrial complex, whether it's just, big corporations, or the money in politics bothers me right off the bat. Like there's just a lot of bullshit. And it's like the idea that you're going to fix it by a vote for a president is so insane. Like it's just for everyone. And I guess my point in saying that is that we're all so fucking divided when we don't really need to be, because they all kind of suck, man. Let's be honest.
And if you look at it, it's really not. And you're right. When you hit it on, it's it's really not the president. It's not where those people. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that we either know or don't know that are persuading these people to do certain things. And those are the people that we need to have laws and stuff and say, get out. Like, you're not in the game. Like, you don't. But they are. They do have a lot of influence. They do have a lot of power. They do have a lot of influence on the people that are in there. And that's the unfortunate part. Like, if we really just let the people that we've elected and their stand on what they say they were going to do and all that stuff, we hold them accountable instead of them being able to be influenced, I think that's how we could get the country back on track. But once they get in there and there's influence and there's lobbyists and there's, do this and this is long term, and that's where I think all that muddy water and all that stuff gets into problems for our country.
And in order to win an election, it costs them a lot of money, so they gotta be funded somehow. So they have to scratch backs to get their back scratched. And it's like, if we could find a way to remove the money, remove the lobbyists, remove the corporate interests, and just have people voted in to do the job with the country's interests at heart, we might be in a better spot than we are today.
And I don't know if there's a country in the world that has that answer.
Yeah, that's a good question or good point.
Because what country isn't influenced by something, right? Influenced by politicalness, by money, by dictatorship, by countries going after the political people, blah blah blah, and taking them out. So it's very hard to find a country in the world, I think, that would do that. Now, if we could solve that, that's how we would say the recipe for us being the greatest nation in the world and a model for it. And I think we have the capability of doing it. It's just, how do we implement that?
I think the only way to implement it is the citizens to be less divided and us demand it. If we ever came together, if we ever stopped listening to what we're supposed to hate each other for, and we came together, we might actually get something done. That would be
awesome. I think that would be, to do that, we would have to go back to the archaic age where we're back to the ring phone, the dial phone, and all that stuff. With the cord only goes so long, and you actually got to go outside to talk to your neighbor and socialize.
Crazy concept.
I think you're right, and because right now it's too easy to divide us. It's too easy to just, and especially with this AI. Like, I've seen so many crazy things about World War III and things that never happened, but it's all AI imagined up. It's so easy to divide us right now because of that stuff. And so I would not be sad to see the whole technology part crash and us go back to actually like having to go outside to see. Like, oh wow, that's what my neighbor looks like. Oh crap, I never even know. Like,
Well, I think it's going to happen organically because of AI. I think AI is going to make so many things on the internet fake that people are just going to be like, I don't even know what to believe there anymore. I'm going to go fucking do real shit. I'm going to go to a concert. I'm going to go to the bar and watch the cover band. I'm going to fucking go to the comedy club. Like they're going to do live things because everything you're watching is going to be bullshit.
yeah, and it's getting out of hand. It really is.
Yeah.
So
It ain't going nowhere though, unfortunately. So we got to learn as a species how to quickly adapt or else it's going to eat us.
and that's why we got to hope that our younger generation, our kids and stuff like that, you know, teaching them now and teaching them well how to use that stuff for good instead of for evil, and how to use it to help benefit their communities, their lives, and use it in a way that it's actually going to be productive. Not just right now, it's just fun to use and make cool little videos and blah blah blah. But how can the next generation actually use that technology for the better of our communities to actually grow things or find out new things or bring us together? How That's where like a lot of us as parents need to start, because we're not going to ever understand it. We're using it for dumb stuff, but the generation can use it for a lot of great things to bring people together if we step in and train them.
Yeah, I agree. I think in general, what it's done is it's done this beautiful thing of connecting us with everyone everywhere. But the flip side of that is people care less about their community. They care less about their neighborhood, their town, the street they live on, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe somebody comes along and changes that, uses it for the good of those things. But only time will tell.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy times. We get to witness majority of this craziness.
Yeah, it has been crazy, and it's just all happened so fucking fast, man. Like it wasn't even like 20 years ago that the iPhone came out. Like something, it's been within the last 20 years or something. Like bananas.
Well, yeah.
Because like, what did I do when I took a shit before iPhones? I don't even know.
Well, you had the Reader's Digest.
That's right, or just a Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition,
Or a
maybe.
newspaper, comic book.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we've went a little over, but I've enjoyed it. Good conversation. Yeah. I appreciate you coming on. I know we tried to do this a few months back, and I'm glad we finally got it knocked out.
Thank you so much for having me.
It'll be out Tuesday at noon Eastern. So I will. I'll put some clips up on our social media. I don't know if you're a social media person or whatever. You feel free to share those, or I can send them to you or whatever you like.
I'll put them up.
Yeah. And do you have anything you want to plug? Anywhere you want to send anybody? Websites or anything?
No, I'm good right now.
All right, cool, man. Well, thank you again so much. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, all that good shit. Tell your friends about it. If you want to be a guest, send us a message. Everybody's got trauma. Everybody's a survivor. So whether you just have ideas about how to deal with that or else want to tell your story, hit us up. Thank you, guys. We are glad you're still fucking here.